The clock struck midnight, shattering the silence of the police station. John, the officer on duty, dozed off at his desk, exhausted from the night shift. Suddenly, the sharp ring of the phone startled him awake. He groggily picked up the receiver. "Police, how can I help you?" he mumbled, expecting to hear another complaint about noisy neighbors or a drunken brawl. But the voice on the other end was different. A woman, her voice trembling with fear, pleaded for help. She spoke of strange, frightening sounds coming from the house next door. She was certain something terrible was happening there. John, shaking off the remnants of sleep, listened intently to the woman, writing down the address. He tried to calm her down, promising to come to the scene immediately. Hanging up the phone, he felt a cold shiver run down his spine. There was such genuine terror in her voice that he couldn't dismiss this call as just another false alarm. John turned on the siren and raced through the night streets. The closer he got to the address, the louder the screams became. They were filled with pain and despair, and they made his blood run cold. Stopping the car in front of a two-story house, John grabbed his flashlight and jumped out. He rushed to the front door, which turned out to be unlocked. An ominous silence reigned in the house, broken only by the screams coming from the basement. John cautiously began to descend the dark stairs, illuminating his path with a flashlight. A heavy, nauseating smell of decay hung in the damp air of the basement. Reaching the last step, he froze, the sight before him making his blood run cold. In the center of the basement, on the dirty floor, lay a girl, bound hand and foot. Her face was contorted in terror, her eyes wide open. Above her, like a predator over its prey, loomed something vaguely resembling a human, but at the same time being the embodiment of absolute nightmare. The creature was unnaturally tall and thin, with bony limbs covered in rotting flesh. Its skin was pale, almost transparent, through which black, tar-like veins shone through. Sharp bony growths, like spikes, protruded from its back. But the most horrible thing was its face. Instead of eyes, there were two empty, bleeding holes, and the mouth was a gaping, toothless maw, from which fetid mucus dripped. John, overcoming the horror that gripped him, rushed at the monster. The creature let out a piercing shriek, like the screech of metal on glass, and recoiled, loosening its grip. John took advantage of this to pull the girl away from the monster. He quickly untied her and helped her to her feet. The girl was trembling and crying, but she was alive. John supported her, helping her up the stairs. He called for an ambulance and backup and stayed with the girl, calming her down and trying to find out what had happened. When the paramedics arrived, John refused help, despite the deep, bleeding wounds on his arm left by the monster's claws. He watched the girl being taken to the hospital, feeling as if he had managed to snatch her from the clutches of hell itself. Later, the police thoroughly searched the house, but the monster was never found. The girl was never able to explain what the creature was. John knew that he had encountered something not of this world. And although this encounter left an indelible mark on him, he continued to serve in the police, knowing that his duty was to protect people from the darkness, in whatever form it might take.